Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our match preview for Leicester City v Aston Villa, our third Premier League game, second away game. Really looking forward to it. We want to get back to winning ways now. Justin, how are you?
Good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Very good. So, on the agenda today, we are going to be talking about Aston Villa. We're going to be talking about Leicester City. We're also going to end the episode talking about the match day experience. So you can stick around for the end. We'll finish on it because if we've got Leicester fans in here, we won't want them listening to us talk about that. So we'll put it right at the end. So stay tuned, drop your thoughts, let us know everything that we discuss, and we'd love to read your thoughts as well. So, Justin, what are your final thoughts on Arsenal heading into Leicester City?
Missed opportunity. Great to see my club battling it out and going toe to toe with a club that's been up top of the Premier League for as long as I can remember now 10, 20, 30 years. A mainstay of that top 4 or 5, and now we are competing toe to toe with the big boys in the league once again, and I am all for it. Barring a bit better finishing, we'd have probably beat them, so I can live with that early in the season.
Yeah, we have got an exciting week ahead of us before we even get to this game. Champions League draw on Thursday. We have then got transfer deadline day on Friday, which hopefully that's going to be semi-exciting if a player comes in this week. And then we've got the game on Saturday. So, yeah, I've echo your thoughts really on that performance. It was really good. It was good to see us competing with Arsenal, a team that are going to go probably quite far to pushing Man City this season. We're coming up against Leicester City, newly promoted team. They've got a cloud hanging over of them with a possible 2 points deductions. Steve Cooper is in the dugout for Leicester. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on Leicester being back in the Premier League? Do you kind of feel a bit sorry for them that they've got a points deduction looming over them, or do you think it's just, well, we had sort of PSR problems ourselves, so do you think you've just got to manage it and deal with it?
Yeah, I think so. I listened to a really interesting podcast the other day about Leicester's problems and strife, and they're due, I think, at least two sanctions. I think this season, one from the EFL and one from the Premier League. So, yeah, they're in a bit of a mess, aren't they? Is it their own making? Probably. We realise how difficult it is to navigate these financial restrictions these days. So they're in for a very tough season. I mean, they've started decent enough, but I think off the pitch, that's where their future is going to be determined. Unfortunately, none of us really want to see that, do we? The Premier League, we want, if you're good enough, you stay up. If you're not, you go down. We don't really want teams, apart from Man City, being dictated to by points deduction. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at all of the newly promoted teams so far, Ipswich have played Liverpool, Man City, no points. Southampton have got no points. Leicester have got 1 point. When I watched that game against Spurs on that first Monday night football, and it looked like it was going to be a very, very long night. They got absolutely battered for about 55 minutes, and then they got the goal, came into life. They were quite, stuck it on Spurs a little bit and probably could have won it at the end with another Vardy chance. So, they've had a spirited performance. They've lost to Fulham away. It does feel like it's going to be very difficult for the newly promoted sides to just compete. I think the gap's getting bigger between the teams that come up and even the ones that have sort of gone down and come straight back up. That gap just gets bigger in the space of a season. I mean, so it is going to be difficult. I also feel like I know we're not talking about Wolves at me, but I think Wolves are bang in trouble. I think they are bang in trouble. I don't think
I went too early with my relegation prediction last season, I think.
Yeah, they look absolutely woeful. So they're in trouble. But Steve Cooper, I kind of like him. I thought he did okay at Forest. He was fantastic to get him promoted. The first season to keep them up was amazing. I don't really like his brand of football, but I think what he is good at is he's really good at that low block. I think he's one of the best low block managers that are around, because he sets the team up that's so structured, so compact, so organised. And especially with Nottingham Forest, he really had that outlet with wingers. And I remember last season when we played them at the City Ground that, he really exploited us. So I think Emery will want to sort of get one back over on Cooper for sort of playing like that against us. And I think that was one of the catalyst performances within our season last year. Even though we lost, I think that was one of the games that Emery was so impressed with the control and the shape, but defending, we got caught, and we really pushed on from there. I think McGinn did an interview after the Arsenal game, and he was sort of saying, like, we had some sort of tough games last year, and I think he was sort of referencing like the Nottingham Forest one, and that we built on it and we moved forward. So Cooper, what do you make of Steve Cooper? Do you think he's got enough to keep them up?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think on the pitch, I think he's already proved really that he reacted very well to that in that Tottenham game, didn't he? Like battered in the first half, but then managed to regroup at half time and put out a very, very good second half performance. And then they were narrowly beaten away at Fulham, which is a difficult place to go. They're a pretty well established mid-table Premier League team nowadays. So for a newly promoted team to go and not do too badly in two difficult opening games, I think it shows that they're going to be competitive this season. And yeah, he's a good coach. I think that's what Forest have hired. Yes, he's come from Forest, so he's got to get over that. We know all too well hiring a manager from the other side of the city or a very close rival is a very difficult thing for fans to get over. But he's just not a cool manager, is he? I think that's what lets him down a little bit. He's not like, you don't look and think, God, he's a cool guy. But I think he's a very good coach, and I think they've hired pretty astutely with him, and I think he'll give them a chance, obviously taking aside what's going on off the pitch that could impact them massively this season, points-wise. I think they've got a decent chance. They haven't massively invested in the transfer window yet, and whether they do or not, I don't know. I think if they get a few injuries, they could be in trouble. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky game for us, a tricky game to navigate. I think we've got to be decent in this game, I think, to make sure we don't come a cropper.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think this has got to be a very intense performance from Villa. I think it's got to be
performance.
Yeah, but I think we've got to have that intense nature about us that's epitomised from our manager, because I think this is the type of game where a newly promoted team still haven't won their first game in the Premier League since they've been back. We've seen against Spurs what can happen if you give them a chance at home. They pile on the pressure. I imagine the clappers will get going. So it's really vitally important that we are professional. We limit the amount of space. We limit the amount of chances. We suffocate them. We give them no space, no room to breathe. Dictate the play. Possession-based football gets going. And we are mature and professional. And we go and get the job done, because they have got weapons that can hurt us. So far this season, the high line hasn't really been tested that much, but Steve Cooper exploited that high line perfectly last season. And they have got a weapon up top, a friendly foe in Jamie Vardy, who, at his grand old age, is still performing at the highest level. He's already scored a goal this season. His record against Villa, played 11. He's won 6 against us. He's drew 2, lost 3. They've accumulated 20 points with Jamie Vardy against Aston Villa, and he scored 5 goals against us. So it's vitally important that we do a job on Vardy. We stop Vardy being able to do the things that Vardy likes to do. So, yeah, I expect us to go there and put in a real dominant performance. And I think we've got weapons that can hurt them. I think we've got a level of control now with Onana, Tielemans. Tielemans back at the King Power as well. He's going to get a warm reception. Probably not. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on how we're going to do it, how we're going to play, what I expect. Vardy, Justin, Does he worry you still, or do you feel like we'll be okay?
I think I'm in the minority. I'm not a massive Vardy fan, to be honest. And, I was all over Twitter when he was giving the Spurs fans a bit of grief. I think they were all loving it. But no, I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not. He's been a really good servant to Leicester. He's done some unbelievable things with that club. The league win and the FA Cup win. Just and the fact he's come up through the ranks, I admire his pathway to the top. He's worked his socks off and he deserves everything he's got in the game. He didn't come through an academy and got spoon fed it from a young age. He's had to work hard to get where he's got. But yeah, not a big fan. He will be a threat, but I back Ezri Konsa to have him tucked in his pocket all game.
I would like to hope so. Right, so stats then, head-to-head record, Premier League era then, played 28 games. Villa have only won 7. Leicester have won 11. Villa have got 3 away wins and Leicester have got 6 home wins. Recent record, any long-standing viewers that remember Van Cam with me and Ryan after the Traore banger, if you remember that, you are an elite up the Villa fan. But that possibly has gave me one of the greatest Villa away experiences of my life. Seeing that hit the top corner from that distance while we was on the run to getting into the Europa Conference League will stay with me forever because it was massive. So the record hasn't been that great before that, but yeah, that one was a real standout one. We are conceding 1 goal a game. They're conceding we're scoring 1 a game. They're scoring 1 a game. We're conceding 1.5. That's the average so far. This was their lineup against Fulham. So Decordova-Reid is a tidy player. Buonanotte from Brighton is a real good player. And Didi Winks Fatawu is a expressive player. We will be doing the predicted lineup. That'll be out tomorrow where we have a look at their system as well. And then just some of the stats so far from this season. They've got a 12% goal conversion rate. They've got a 6.91 SOFA score rating. They are having 1.5 big chances per game. Total shots per game are at 8.5. They're getting 3.5 shots on target. They're averaging 38% possession so far in their first 2 games. So that will lead you on to believing that Villa should dominate this game with the ball. They're getting 81% passing accuracy per game. In the opposition half, it's only at 63.4%, which again isn't that great. And then we've got 50% of their duels are being won. So it's important that Villa bring that intensity. We win our individual battles. So that area of the pitch is sorted as well. We've got their 3 best players so far. Again, like I said, it's Fatawu on 7.55. They've got Faust on 7.30, who scored against Fulham. We've got their passing network against Fulham. So you can see midfield, it's pretty tidy. There's a lack of anything in and around Jamie Vardy. You can see that gap between Vardy and the midfield and the front 3 is quite large. So you can see that there's only Vardy so far that has really being in his own half, especially against Fulham. And then this was Fulham's passing network against Leicester. And you can see the central of the park was dominated by number 20. There's the width there. They're in the opposition half as well. So, yeah, so that was the passing network against Fulham. And then here we've got a little bit of a match overview. 54% possession for Fulham, 3 big chances. They had 18 shots. They had 7 corners, Fulham. They had 538 passes to Leicester's 454. We've got the accurate passes, so 381 for Leicester. Final third passes, like I said earlier, was a little bit lower at 50%. So, Justin, all that said, does that lead you on to having a little bit of confidence?
A lot of confidence, not a little bit. Yeah, I think we've just got to be ourselves. That's where I'm at with Villa now. Against what I would class bottom half teams, with the greatest respect to Leicester, that's where they're going to be this season. We've got to be dominant. That's the way we've got to be. Our aspirations, we know where we want to be at the end of the season, where the club wants us to be, where Emery wants us to be. So the reality is now we've got to go to places like Leicester and win the games. and win them comfortably, not maybe 5-6-0. I'm not on about scoreline comfortably. I mean comfortably, I think plenty of possession, control the game, don't get into a scrap with them. Take your chances, and I expect us to win the game.
Oh, I do too. Right. Let's just look a little bit further ahead to this week. Thursday, Champions League draw, Villa fans. So, what I would like you all to do in the comment section down below is tell me, out of pot one, so the elite pot, which team you would like at home and which team you would like away from home. The options are, we can't play the English teams, so it's Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, PSG, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Leipzig, and Barcelona. Those are the options. Those are the teams that we will be playing. We'll be playing two of those teams. So, Justin, you can pick a home and an away. Who are you going with? Who would you like to see Villa play in the Champions League?
Very easy for me, this one. At home, I want to play Barcelona. And
Nice.
away, I want to go to Real Madrid.
Oh,
it's the obvious ones. If the new camp had been finished, or if they had still been playing at the new camp, I would have had it the other way around. I would have loved to go to Barcelona. I love Barcelona. I've never been, so I'd love to see Villa play in the new camp. But because they're not playing there, other way around for me. Barca at Villa Park, and we'll go to the Bernabeu and beat them there.
Yeah, so the draw is sort of now done by a computer. I've got a funny feeling that whoever gets Real Madrid will be from pot 4 first. Right? You know how these things work. They're going to get a pot 4 team first. So, my two would be Real Madrid at Villa Park. That would be elite for me. I would just love to see Real Madrid at Villa Park. And I also think we're going to play Bayern Munich away. Those are the two teams that I think we're going to play. And I'd be over the moon with those. I think
you can't fail, really, can you?
No, you can't. You can't. I think you could if you got Leipzig.
If you draw Leipzig, and with the greatest respect, they're all good sides. Leipzig and maybe Inter, possibly. You'd probably fancy us to get something from them. Real Madrid, hopefully we could get something. I still back us, but very difficult. But, you play the lesser sides of that pot and you're thinking, okay, we could maybe get something out of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just going to be so exciting. I feel like I'm getting a bit nervous.
Just excited to see the name, isn't it?
Yeah,
just when you see that written somewhere, Aston Villa versus Bayern Munich. Yeah. I mean, the Bayern Munich ones would be great because of obviously winning the European Cup against them. So that would be great to play them again.
Yeah, I kind of do think we might get Juventus as well for Dougie. I think Dougie might. Those footballing things work, don't they? It's like, like we're obviously going to cross paths again at some point. So I think that one's going to be really interesting then. So now a little bit of an area that is not the best to talk about, but I think we have the platform. I think we should talk about something like this. I think it's, we shouldn't hide away from talking about things. And anyone that knows me especially knows that I, and you, Justin, I'm super, super positive. I absolutely adore this football club. I love it too. It's like the bare brick of the place. Like, I absolutely love it. And it does take a lot for me to get a little bit annoyed and a little bit frustrated. And there were some things on my match day experience on Saturday, and this is just my personal view. Justin's might be totally different, and Justin will have his say in a minute. But as much as my day was brilliant to be back at Villa and to watch the team and to be back watching Villa and the football, some of the things around that match day weren't that great and weren't that pleasant and weren't that enjoyable. And I just think at times we don't help ourselves sometimes. And I think things can be done a lot better. And we'd already got a little bit of a furore on social media about these season tickets and them being sent out a couple of days before. And in hindsight, I think they should have been sent out a lot earlier. I think if they were sent out a lot earlier, then some of the frustrations and anger probably wouldn't have been as loud, because I think because some fans had that frustration of not being able to get their tickets on their phones and there's no one to talk to, and all we're getting from the club is a little tweet about this is what you have to do, this is what you need to do. And I think sometimes some people just maybe need somebody to speak to. And I think because we don't have that, we have a phone line that if you get through and you're on the phone for about 30 minutes, I think sometimes some people don't have 30 minutes in their day to be put on hold. You know, some people maybe just get an hour lunch break a day and then they go home and that's it. And they don't want to talk to someone at Villa and be on hold for that amount of time. So I just feel like if the communication was a bit better and there was somebody to talk to, because I do imagine that there was quite a few people that were struggling to get them on their phones. That was the issue to start the week with. And then we get to Villa Park and there's massive amounts of queues and people can't get in, etc. Luckily for me in the upper Holt, it was easy, but lower Holt wasn't. You know, that's not great. People then being told that they can go to 2 little temporary cabins to go and speak to someone about their tickets. And I'm just like, they shouldn't have to do that. That they shouldn't have to be worrying about going to a ticket cabin to sort out whether they can get a ticket on their phone and sort it out. It should have been done ages ago. So that's probably one of the biggest frustrations for me. The next one are the toilet situation in the Holt End. Now, this is probably the worst thing that could possibly happen, really, because at the end of the day, nobody, wherever you go, should be witnessing what some of the fans in the Holt End were seeing in them toilets. It was an absolute disgrace. The toilet, people were just weeing in a urinal with it coming over. They were having to stand so far away so it doesn't land on their shoes. And this isn't the first time that this has happened. The first game of the season, last season, the exact same thing happened. And when I walked down them stairs to get into that sort of top section last season, I needed a dinghy. I needed armbands to swim through all that because it was disgusting, and it wasn't as bad as that. Now, what I think happened was when I went back to my seat at half time, the lad next to me said, terrible, innit? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, they haven't took the caps off the urinals. There was blue caps on the urinals and they hadn't took them off. Now, this guy went to the steward after on the 30th minute and said, they're going to fill up if you don't take these caps off. And they didn't take the caps off. So I think that's what happened, in my opinion, because the same thing happened last season, and it's just too similar, because after the first game last season, it never happened again. So for me, you know, it's just not good enough. And I think as a fan, when you're walking around the ground now and you're seeing the cells, you're seeing all these corporate areas, and look, I'm all for them, because if it brings in more revenue to the football club, it needs to happen. Villa cannot stand still. We have to do those areas, but it can't be at the detriment of season ticket holders. And I can only speak from the Holt End. And even when you go in the toilet, there's sinks that have been there for about 20 years. There's no hand wash. The bins are all overflowing. It's just not good. And as a fan now, it kind of feels like season ticket, you pay your 800 quid, we're done now. Your experience is just completely done because you've got my money now. You don't need to improve anything else to do with me in that Holt End. So, like I'm saying, when we can get all of these areas that are the cells, that's done, everyone's in there, everyone's having a good time, and that concourse is just an absolute shit show. That's really frustrating. And another little thing that, and I am having a bit of a rant because there are a good few things that do annoy me, is though just the little things. Like, I'm a season ticket holder. I get nothing for that season ticket. I just get to watch the games. You become a member and you pay 40, 50 quid and you don't have to ever go to a game, and you get this nice little package sent to you with a nice little flask and some coasters. You know, the little things, just do the little things, because Villa fans, we don't want much. We just want things done properly and the experience to be good. It's, we pay a lot of money, 800 quid. We're there every year. We'll be there next year. We'll be there the year after. We'll be the year after that. We do need to be looked after a little bit. And I think as much as we're improving the stadium, we're improving the tunnel, we're bringing in these corporate areas, don't forget the people that are there all of the time. You look across the stadium before the game kicked off, the empty pockets of seats, people milling around, people getting to their seats 5 minutes after 10 minutes after kickoff. We want them in the stadium for kickoff. We make so many jokes about the Blues ground, how it's empty and there's empty seats and that, but we've got it ourselves before a game. So it's just really frustrating. Positive, safe standing. Absolutely loved it. It was absolutely brilliant. I prefer standing up, and that was a real great addition. Annoying that there was things around the ground that weren't finished, that weren't ready on time. Scaffolding up, making it sort of areas where there's loads of congested people. We still need more beverage places that are in and around that fan zone, more eateries, etc. That needs to improve. So we're not asking for a lot, basically. We're just asking for things to be done properly and better communication, so that when fans think something needs to be addressed or something needs to be spoken about, or if I can't access something, there's somebody that can pick up that phone within 10 minutes and we can air our problems, because at the minute we don't have that. So I think for as much as off the pitch there's areas that are improving and we're making more money, etc., there are a lot of things that need to be addressed. There are a lot of unhappy Villa fans out there. And I think as a club, we can't just go, they're just moaning. They're just moaning about nothing. I think some people like a moan, but I think that there is a bigger picture that needs to happen. And I think if the communication's better, if the organisation's better, if the everyday fans' experience is better, then you'll have a happier fan base, basically. The shuttle buses, perfect, brilliant. It's getting people in and out the stadium a lot better. So there are aspects of it that are really good, but the fundamentals at times just aren't quite there, and it does need to be a little bit better. So I've had a little bit of a rant, and that's just how I basically feel as a Villa fan. I'm super positive and I'm just honest. But I do think on Saturday, there was an area in my brain that just thought, we're not really being that looked after here. And why I am saying that is because within that break from last season to this season, nothing's changed. And nothing really had changed the season before. So as that ticket price keeps going up and up and up, what are we getting any different? The football's better, of course, but as a fan experience, I'm not sure it's quite there yet. So that's my thoughts. I'll let Justin have his say, but yeah, how do you feel, Justin?
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation to have, isn't it? My fan experience on Saturday was very decent. I was at work and I left work, so I work in Sutton Coldfield, which is about a 10-minute drive to Villa. I left work at 20 to 5, and it took me 10 minutes to drive and park up by the cemetery, because I have to park quite far away because I'm getting there so late. And that's a brisk 20 to 25-minute walk then to the ground. Now, I was a little bit concerned, thinking if the turnstiles are clogged up, if there is lots of issues, I might be in trouble, I might not get in. And I prepared myself for that. That was my fault. I couldn't get there any earlier than that. I totally understand that. So I got to the ground about 10 past 5, and there was quite a few people at my turnstile, which is the Trinity Middle, so it's just to the right of the corporate entrance where everyone goes and where the coaches arrive, and where we all waited for the coaches last season. And there was quite a few people waiting. There was still the scaffolding up from where they're doing the works, but it moved pretty quickly. I saw that the right-hand side was moving quite quickly, so I got into that. I opened my phone. I'd already downloaded my ticket onto my wallet. So I had it already, just obviously hoped I got to the front, and I did. It took me 5 minutes max. Everybody was in pretty good spirits. Got to the turnstile, held my phone up, went green, walked straight in. So the whole experience for me was pretty straightforward, and I totally understand that that wasn't the case for a lot of people on Saturday. But having got there so late and walking round, I could see the Doug Ellis. So I'll get to the Doug Ellis stand first from the way I walk, and then I walked all the way around the back of the North stand to the Trinity, and there was lots and lots of people outside waiting. There was big queues in the North stand. I think the biggest issue from what I'm reading, I'm hearing, is that the turnstiles opened too late. I think it was supposed to be 4, but it was 4:15 by the time they opened. And it seemed a lot of people had got there pretty early to get it in, to try and negate any potential issues at the turnstiles with the new technology. And the club, I think, made a big boo-boo not opening at least an hour earlier. And I fully expect that to change in the next home game. I think they will open a lot earlier to stop any of these problems. I think by now that's got a digital ticket has got that digital ticket, and I didn't hear of many, if any, people saying when they got to the turnstile that they had an issue with the ticket not working. I'm sure there will be people that will be commenting saying, yeah, mine didn't work. But the big problem is whenever you bring in this technology, it's always going to have to be the first game when it works. I think we saw this at the Tottenham Stadium. I think Newcastle had issues last year when they introduced it up there for the first game. Yes, I totally agree with you. I think they should have all gone out a couple of weeks earlier, so anybody that hadn't received them then could have more easily have got in touch with the club, and that communication wouldn't have been as stressful, knowing that you're only literally 48 hours and then 24 hours away from the first game and still not received your ticket. That's very stressful. And it leaves you very little time in your working day, like you say, to try and take time out of your working day to get that issue resolved. So I think that was not very good. But hopefully now that's been done once and everybody's got their ticket on their phones, that should be a lot easier next year to do. So, yeah, I think there's a steep learning curve for everybody on this. And I think we've got to be a bit patient, but we've also got to demand better. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us sitting here saying this wasn't good enough. It's got to be better. But there's also nothing wrong also with saying let's let them get it better. You know, if this is repeated game after game after game after game, we've got a big problem. If this is a one-off issue that's caused because of a changeover, a huge changeover, then okay, I'm happy to accept teething problems. You have that in any business. The toilet issue, it's very hard for me to comment on that. I don't sit in the Holt end. I saw all the videos, I saw all the pictures, I saw everybody. Yes, as just basic human rights, nobody should have to put up with that. Nobody. And I pray that your mate who sits next to you picked up on that issue. He's absolutely right that it was a simple fix, that the caps maybe that they put on in the pre-season when nobody's using them to maybe stop smells. I don't know what that would be, that they just wasn't taken out. I hope that's the case, so that's a quick fix. I think from a club's point of view and the new ownership point of view, they've inherited a stadium that's been not improved at all off the pitch for a very, very long time. And we've had this debate on this channel numerous times over the last few months, especially that where does Villa Park go from here? You know, it's a very old stadium. It needs a huge overhaul in the big concourse areas for general admission tickets, which is 90% of the fan base where we sit, where we'll always sit. They're not good enough and they have to be improved. Do I think that will happen? Absolutely, categorically, I think that will happen. Has it happened quick enough for most of us? No. Are we right to have a moan? Yes. But also, can we be patient to try and get them to sort it out? Yes, hopefully we can. We're a big community here. We are fans, players, owners, hierarchy, and I just want everybody to be pulling the same way. Should we sit here and hold them accountable? Absolutely, we should. But should we also try and help them as well? Yes, because we all want the same thing. We want a successful team on the pitch, and we want a functioning stadium off the pitch. We want to be able to get into the stands easy, go and get a drink and something to eat, and go to the toilet. It's not a lot to ask. Will it be improved? Categorically, it will be improved. One thing I will say is a lot of people are saying that they don't care about us. We don't bring enough money into the club. General admission tickets, they don't care. All they care about is corporate. I do not buy that one iota that they don't care about us. I just don't, because I think they have to care about every fan. And that's just me personally. You can shout and scream and tell me that I'm wrong. They care about every fan. Have they done enough based on Saturday? No. Have they made mistakes? Yes. Will they hold their hands up and say, we're going to do better, we're going to learn from that, we're going to learn from that, and we're going to sort that? Yes. There's still a lot to do. Are we going in the right direction? Absolutely we are. Will we get there? Yes, we will. I think we will. Honestly, we will. But we've just got to stay calm, say what we feel when we feel like we need to say something, and hope that they can sort these issues out.
Yeah, that's pretty much why we are mentioning it, because like we just want it to improve. We just want it to be better. And yeah, it's first game of the season. Like, you know, you could just say that, you know, it's first game of the season. You haven't done it, but you know what I mean. Like we're still following the same pattern of what we did last year. So it's not like, oh, brand new day, like loads of things have changed in that sort of, apart from the ticket thing. So I just think we just need to get a little bit better, because I just, my final thoughts on it would be things that we openly want to change, we want to rectify, and we make better. We seemingly can make those things happen very, very quickly. And there's other areas that seem to be neglected that don't get rectified quick enough for me. So what I'm basically saying is, if we want a new corporate area, within the space of 6 weeks, we make that happen. It's up and running. It's working. It's full. Job done. Certain areas that we neglect, that are still being neglected, that are just a quick, easy, simple fix, aren't being sorted, i.e. more staff on the concourse, more staff, pulling points, a better system. You ask someone for a drink, someone makes it, someone takes the payment. It's a quicker, fluid, better transaction. And then maybe someone's at the back that's pouring the points quickly. We see all at different grounds. But again, in the Holt End, massive queue, about 2 people with a massive queue behind them. Just little things that could be rectified straight away. We build a brand new massive club shop with about 20 tills, staff packed out to the rafters, running seamlessly. But my area, when I go in the Holt End, it's not seamless. So I think that's
I think
just part of the frustration.
it's very difficult. It's so difficult, and there's so many factors in all these issues. It's very difficult to nail how you do it. I mean, I work in hospitality, so I my business is a quick turnover. We sell jacket potatoes, as everybody knows. So on very, very busy days, we rely on a very quick turnover. So I absolutely feel the pain every single time I go down at half time on all of the little concessions, all the food concessions, the drink concessions, when they are faced with 15 minutes. That's never going to change. They get 15 minutes to serve thousands of people. Now, what do? Do you triple the staff for those 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And just bang everything out, it's then you've got to basically increase everything beyond the counters. It's
Yeah, but that Justin,
I don't know.
that's the point.
It's very
That's the
difficult.
point. Because if you do that, it runs better. Like I remember when I used to go into your shop and I'd get a jacket potato off you, right? So you're the man with the glove on. You get the jacket potato out the oven. You may have a couple of them already out the oven. Someone comes in, you pass it to the next person. They do your toppings. There you go. It's a seamless thing. And this is what I'm saying. This whole thing at half time, it's not new. It's been the same for like years. We know what's coming. You know, you go to Manchester United in that concourse, right? I think you can get 3 beers for a tenner, right? They're already poured. You ask for your drink, 3 turn up straight away, tap your card, off you go. It's so quick. Whereas at Villa, you're asking someone, can I have a beer, please? Okay. They go off, they go and do something, they come back, they pour the pint, they put the pint down, they then go to the card machine, they get the card machine, you tap it. That whole process there probably takes about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes too. You've only served one person in 2 minutes. So the whole plan of doing it, it's just got to be quick fire, because you're not asking Gordon Ramsay to cook you a 5-course meal. You're asking, all you want is a beer or a pie that's already cooked. Do you know what I mean? So all they're doing is getting it, putting it down, take the payment, off you go. So I don't know. That's just the frustration. Like, I don't go down at half time to get a beer because there's no point. It doesn't interest me. But you know, as a fan, it has got to be better. Like, there's no excuse, because as a club though, you don't want the queue, because if you've got a queue that can't be served, you're not going to make as much money. So if you pay a couple more people to be behind the counter and it's sharper, quicker, how many more transactions are you going to get? How many more people are you going to get going down at half time? Because there's probably people that are sat at half time thinking, do you know, I'd like a drink now, but there's just no point. So I think I especially on this episode have had a bit of a moan, but I think probably I'm speaking for a bit of the fan base as well, and I don't think what I'm saying is too harsh and that I'm asking for too much. I just want the service better. That is all.
I agree. We all want that. I think they are working towards it, and I think the next game, I'd be surprised if a lot of these issues happen again. In fact, I'll be amazed and I'll be very disappointed if A, the turnstiles don't open earlier, B, the toilets aren't sorted, C, I think that the thing in the car park, the fan zone area, will be done, and there'll be a lot more calmer people. Everybody's going to be used to where the tickets have come from, where they're on the phone. All those have been resolved. If we can just throw a few more staff in each of the concession areas and be a little bit, not even more patient, but just appreciate that there was issues in that first game that all came together in one, which made it very frustrating for a lot of people. Hopefully we can just navigate around this issue and things will just start to improve and get better and better for everybody. Because that's all we all want at the end of the day.
Definitely. Right. I've had a mad one. I've had a mad one on this one. Right. So, Scott, we go back to the game then. We are playing on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, we're playing Leicester. Yeah.
We're playing Leicester and we're going to beat them 3-1. So, there we go. Happy days. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go with you, Lukey boy. 3-1.
3-1. And it's going to be Rodgers and Watkins that score. So, that's
R27, as I'm calling him now.
Yeah. So, Villa fans, share your thoughts on who you want to get in the Champions League, home and away from pot 1. Share your thoughts on your matchday experience. Does it echo mine? Does it echo Justin's? Is it totally different? Are you happy Are you not happy? And we'll get a good understanding of the thoughts from the fans, because we get a lot of people that watch this channel, and we get a lot of views, and I'd say most people talk a lot of sense in the comments. So yeah, let's see what the comments say. So up the Villa.